So thank you all for coming today for this Exploring IEng Registration CPD session. My name's Amy. I'm the IFE's Compliance and Professional Standards Manager. So today what I'd like to cover is, first of all, what is professional registration, the IFE and their relationship with the Engineering Council, why become an IEng, the requirements for IEng registration, the process your application will go through, and also our top 10 tips for applying. So, first of all, what is professional registration? It's recognition through membership of a relevant professional engineering institution that you as an individual have had your competence assessed and that you have attained the standard required for admission onto the National Register. It's open to any competent practicing engineer or technician, and there's different registration levels and pathways available for you. The categories of Engineering Council registration have been developed to provide a progressive registration structure. The IFE is a licensed professional engineering institution, licensed by the Engineering Council to recommend fire professionals for registration onto their national register. Why become registered with us? There's greater influence and professional recognition in the global fire sector. It can enhance your career prospects and earning potential. Through being a member of the IFE, you get access to special interest groups, CPD tracking facilities, and also any current vacancies that are available. You also have access to the IFE journal, newsletters, and online access to archive publications. We offer local and international CPD events, and you also gain use of Engineering Council logos that reflect your registration status. We're proud that because of our licence with the Engineering Council, we can grant these 3 sections of the register. These give you a broad overview of the activities for each of the levels, but today we're going to focus on the IEng. So, what does an incorporated engineer do? In the fire sector, incorporated engineers can include, but are not limited to, fire investigators, consultants, lecturers, directors, and project managers. Incorporated engineers are able to demonstrate the theoretical knowledge to solve problems in developed technologies using proven analytical techniques. They can successfully apply their knowledge to deliver engineering projects or services using those technologies. And they're responsible for project and financial planning, together with management and responsibility for leading and developing other staff. They have effective interpersonal skills in communicating matters and demonstrate a commitment to professional engineering values. So why become an IEng? As well as the things listed on the screen, it is a way of demonstrating not only your commitment to the engineering profession, but also your competence, credibility and professionalism. The postnominals IEng will mark you out as a skilled professional engineer and give higher confidence in you. So how do we assess your application? We take into consideration your academic qualifications and experience, the information contained in your professional review report, which demonstrates your competence, commitment, and finally, your CPD log. These elements together will meet the required standards. Once reviewed, if you're successful, you'll be invited to a peer review interview. I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. So if we start with the academic qualifications, there's 2 different routes that you may have heard about, which are the standard route and the individual route. The standard route is where you hold an accredited qualification, in this case, a BEng honours degree in an engineering subject. The individual route is where you don't hold a qualification that is accredited by the Engineering Council, but You submit all of your qualifications to us, and it gets assessed by our individual route panel. Our panel will then deem your qualifications either of equivalence or not. Don't worry if your qualifications are not deemed of equivalence, as there are the options A to D there that offer alternative pathways. If you're not sure whether your qualification is accredited, don't worry, there are ways around this. We may ask for more information about all the qualifications you do hold. We'll ask for transcripts of modules, abstracts of dissertations, and this will allow our individual route panel to assess all of your qualifications holistically. When it comes to writing your A to E competencies as part of your professional review report, the UK-SPEC is the key document for professional registration and stands for the UK Standard for Professional Engineering Competence. It describes the value of becoming registered in each of the 3 registration levels. It describes the requirements that have to be met in order to gain the registration and gives examples of ways that you can do this. It also explains the steps necessary to achieve professional registration in each of the tiers. We also look at your CPD when assessing your application. CPD is essential for maintaining and enhancing the required competencies and demonstrates your commitment to developing yourself. The IFE look at not just what you've done and when you did it. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, we look for the learning outcomes. So that's what you've learned from the CPD activity and how you can use this newfound knowledge to
Hello, Joe.
develop your career.
Hang on a minute.
This sets us apart from other
Just turn this
institutions
down.
who
I'm
may
having a
only
lecture
look
on
at
something.
the what and the when.
Go on then. You're still okay for this Thursday?
If
Oh, I
I
was going
could
to ring
just
you about
ask
that.
whoever
Yeah.
isn't on mute to please mute themselves. Thank you. So having reviewed your application, your qualifications, and your CPD, you will then be invited to an interview. The professional review interview will cover your A to E competencies and the content of your CPD log. The interview will consist of 2 peer reviewers and an IFE staff member who is there to record the interview. Occasionally, you may have an additional observer who is going through the training process or QAing the interviewers. It's important to remember that the interview is not there to trip you up, but to allow you to further demonstrate your competency as an incorporated engineer. If we move on to our top 10 tips, you'll see all 10 on the screen there. Many people find the most challenging part of the application to be the professional review report. So that's your A to E competencies. These top 10 tips are designed to help you, and I'll run through each one in more detail now. So firstly, it's important to prepare and plan your application. There's nothing to fear from your application because you're just being asked to prove things you already know. There's no right or wrong answers, and you're just untangling all of your experiences into separate competency sets. Remember, where the UK-SPEC refers to professional standards, it's the IFE's code of conduct and ethical principles you must demonstrate, and not any regulatory or technical codes of practice. Number 2, objectives A to E are all equally important. It's important to think of examples or case studies that you're particularly proud of, whether it's a situation you've handled professionally, tasks you've done really well in your role, or problems that you've helped to solve. It's also important to remember that it is about you as an individual and what you have done. You may find that some of your examples are going to fit into more than one area. Others may be specific to a particular competence. So what are these objectives that you need to meet? The 5 areas of competence you need to demonstrate are the A's. This is your knowledge and understanding. You're being asked to show how you've used your knowledge of fire engineering techniques or procedures and fire science principles in a particular situation or task. Why did you choose that particular course of action? The B's is design, development, and solving engineering problems. These are where you need to explain the different ways in which you've applied your knowledge to the tasks. C's are responsibility, management, and leadership. Here, you're being asked to evidence what you did to plan and manage your work and the work of others effectively and efficiently. Was there room for you to continuously improve? D is the communication and interpersonal skills. This is where you can give examples of your people skills, working with others constructively, presenting ideas and proposals effectively, and acting on awareness of diversity and inclusion issues. E's is your professional commitment. Your application must give examples of your professional and ethical behaviour. They should demonstrate how you comply with the IFE Code of Conduct, recognise your obligations to society, and how you carry out your CPD. Three, the keywords hold clues. When you're looking at the UK-SPEC, make sure you're reading beyond the initial headings. Look for the verbs as clues as to what you need to demonstrate, and be methodical, using the keywords of each section to help you. It can help applicants to underline keywords or phrases within the UK-SPEC and the IFE Code of Conduct that will help you with your descriptions. For example, Objective A1 asks you to review and select appropriate techniques. If you go to Competence A, Knowledge and Understanding, as part of the UK-SPEC, you'll see there's a subcategory called Examples of Evidence. And these list keywords: evaluating, recognising difficulties, identifying improvements, carrying out and interpreting tests. These examples will help you to find your evidence. It's important not to be brief. You need to make sure you detail the exact situation, task, and problem, and how you meet each competence. As a guide, the application form has space for 3 examples per competence. You don't need to use a new career episode for each competence, but you do need to make it clear how your career episode demonstrates the competence. You can use the same career episode as many times as you like, so long as it gives you adequate evidence of meeting the competency. Duplication is not necessarily a bad thing. The assessor will read your entire application. This one always seems to be a bit of a stumbling block, and that is using I, not we. You need to take ownership of the things you've done and making your contribution clear by writing statements as I, not as we did this. The majority of your competencies should be individual examples when you've had to take action, when you have used your knowledge to support others. It's important to read through your professional review report and make sure that you amend anything that says we to your role within the situation. If something was completed in partnership with others, make sure you highlight your role. And don't be afraid to show off. This is about you and your ability. But always remember to tell the truth about your involvement. Number 6, why? Why did you do what you did? Our volunteers who review our applications are a great bunch of practicing fire engineers. They are not mind readers and cannot infer or read between the lines and make any assumptions. You have to clearly explain to them your reasoning. Is there a reason you did what you did? Is there a particular standard you had to abide by? If there was, make sure you tell them. Number 7, after you've been through the why you chose the solution, you need to detail the how you implemented the solution and what actions you took. What were the outcomes of what you did? Again, making sure that what you achieved is clear. Maybe it wasn't as successful as it could have been. You can explain here what lessons you've learned and what you may do differently next time. To make your answer especially strong, you can round off by relating this back to how you've shared any lessons learnt or enabled continuous improvement moving forward. You can also discuss these with line managers or your referees or any other supporter you have. They can often help identify if there's anything that you've missed, or in the case of most people, if you've been overly modest about what your part was in things. Number 8, you need to demonstrate that you are aware of diversity and inclusion. You must ensure that you provided evidence of your awareness of this, and you can use a situation where you've demonstrated this. On the slide, you'll see a few examples of how you can demonstrate. Number 9, CPD. In section E4, you'll be talking about your commitment to continuing professional development. It's important here not just to list the events you've attended or the reading you've done. You should ensure that you record an equivalent of 25 hours per year, which can be made up of a mix of formal and informal learning. CPD is also important for all IFE registrants because we take an annual sample of all of our Engineering Council registrants. This is part of our licensing agreement with the Engineering Council. To assist our members and registrants with this, we do offer access to My Career Path in conjunction with the Engineering Council, which allows you to record your CPD. The intention behind the sampling is not to police our registrants, but to encourage a culture in which registrants take natural ownership and engage actively with CPD to develop their own learning and career. Finally, number 10 relates to ethics. The reviewers want to see that you understand the relevant codes of conduct and can explain why they are necessary and how you adhere to them. You'll demonstrate this through objective E1 to E5. It's easy to miss the point here that professional standards relevant are the ethical values that you commit to society, the environment, and the engineering profession. It doesn't relate to any British standard or legislation. Ensure that you're methodical and make full use of all available guidance on this. So if you have any application related questions at all, you can get in touch with us at any time. On the screen, you'll see our HQ team. And between us, we've got roughly 20 years of experience in helping individuals to gain their membership and professional registration. So feel free to drop us a line anytime with any of your questions. So what are the next steps for getting registration? If you're not already an IFE member, you can join today as an affiliate and gain access to all of the IFE member benefits in preparation for making your application. You can see our Engineering Council webpage for more details on the registration process, to download the application forms and also to find all of our guidance documents. And just to reiterate the email address, if you have any inquiries, you can send these to engc@ife.org.uk.